Sounds True presents Your Buddha Nature, Part 12, Meditations with Jack Kornfield.
In this next meditation, we speak to the possibility of discovering the wisdom and great compassion of the Buddha nature that is our own true essence, that resides within us and can be called upon even in the most difficult circumstances of life. Because it's one thing to practice in a protected environment of a meditation center or in a sacred space we set up in our home, and it's another to be in the thick of the great difficulties of life and say, well, where is Buddha nature now? So allow yourself again to sit with ease and comfort in your body. This will be a 5 or 8 minute guided meditation. Let your eyes close gently, your posture be relaxed and alert, present. And come back for just a few moments to feel the natural rhythm of breathing, the centeredness of your present awareness. Now in this stillness and in the midst of this present mindful moment, allow yourself through reflection in the mind's eye to remember, to see, to think about or sense in any way you can a particular situation in your life which is most difficult. It can be at work or in community or family relations. But let there come into your mind's eye and into your heart the scene and the imagining and the remembering of what is the most strong difficulty that you face in these times in your life. And as it arises, feel, sense, see, imagine yourself back there as fully as you can. Be in the thick of that experience. What does your body feel like when you're there in the middle of it? Sense that. What are you saying? Who are you with? Picture, feel, imagine. And now let it get to its peak, to its worst moment. And notice what it's like, all the things that you're caught up with, how difficult it is, what everyone's doing and saying. And then in the midst of this worst moment, where it feels most difficult, all of a sudden there's a knock at the door, or the doorbell rings, or even if you're outside, there's someone who's coming, and whoever you find yourself with, at that moment, say, excuse me, pardon me for a moment, and leave the situation entirely. Go to the door, or see who's coming, and as you go, you will notice that who's coming is an amazing being, a being of tremendous compassion and wonderful light and wisdom. It might be Buddha or Mother Mary or Jesus or Solomon or the goddess Kuan Yin, the goddess of infinite mercy. Let a being that represents compassion and wisdom appear to you. And they come up to you in this place, And they look at you and they say, having a hard day? And you kind of acknowledge, yes, this is a tough one. And then they say, well, listen, let us try an experiment. You give me your body. I'll take on your body and clothes, so I'll look just like you. And I'll let you be invisible for a while. And you let me go in and show you how I might handle this situation. So here is Buddha, or the Goddess of Infinite Mercy, or Solomon, or Jesus, or Mary, whoever it is, who are now inside your body, and you follow them back into the middle of the difficulties, into the thick of the difficulties. Picture, sense, imagine, feel them there, and notice how they handle it. What do they say? Or not say? What is the state of their body like in the middle of it? How do they respond? Let them show you and demonstrate how one could attend to this difficulty. And finishing up as they show you. Then they say, excuse me a moment, pardon me again, to whomever they're with. And they stand up, and you follow them back to the place where you met them, outside the door, outdoors, wherever it was. And they give you back your body and resume their luminous form. And now you're standing with this being of great compassion, wisdom. And before they leave, they reach under their robes and pull out a gift that's in their hands that they place into your hands, a clear symbol of just what you need to help you in these difficulties. Accept the gift and see or know or picture or feel, imagine what it would be. And if it's not clear, hold it up to the light. You can see it. And then before they leave you, they reach over and touch your body with their hands somewhere in the most healing way. And then whisper into your ear a few words of final advice. Picture, hear, sense, imagine, what are those words of advice that they have for you? You can know. And then bow to them, pay your respects, and let yourself come back. To this room. Bring your gift and your understanding back with you. Now, one of the amazing things that happens at times in this meditation, not everyone can do it because not everyone meditates through visualizing as easily as others, but many can, remember. One of the amazing things that happens is that in a short order, when this other being has come, you get a sense of how the body would feel if you were at ease or compassionate or relaxed in that circumstance. And often the teachings that come in the circumstance are the simplest truths. You know how it feels in the body. You have a sense of what the words of wisdom would be. And often the underlying truths are, you don't have to fix them, whoever they are. Just love them. Or remember kindness. Or maybe the words that you're left with are, stand up for yourself and tell the truth. And that it will be okay. The solutions that come sometimes are again as simple as the guided meditation on goodness. One person I remember was confronting an angry boss about this overdue project and product. And the Buddha took over her body and kept her body soft. And the only words that she said when she was the Buddha speaking was, "You must feel a great deal of responsibility for holding all this together," she said to her boss. And immediately the boss softened, and the employee and the boss were able to talk, figure out how to sort it out. That moment of sympathy, even though the boss was angry and yelling and so forth, just to say, it must be really hard for you. Must be a lot of fear, tension, or responsibility. Another image came to someone of Mother Mary. And she came to a father who was trying to do single parenting. And it was one of those mornings he was trying to get to work, and he had 3 kids, and, was trying to get their lunches together, and they were having a fight, and there was all this struggle and so forth. And Mother Mary came in and said, "Let me show you how I would do it." And she came, and the kids were having tantrums, and she just sat down with them. She set some limits, mind you, but what she did first was she sat down and said, "Let's play a little bit. Let's do something that's fun for a few minutes before you go off," and stopped all the busyness and played with the kids down on the floor, and then said, "All right, now I have to go to work. What do you need? And let's get this together." And it was just the moment of giving that kind of attention to the kids. It didn't take more than 3 or 4 minutes, and they felt really connected, and then the next task could be gotten to. It's that simple. There's a great question that this meditation brings to anyone who does it and has some sense of success in it. And that is, where did the Buddha or the Goddess of Mercy or Mother Mary or Solomon or whoever it happened to be, where did they come from? This being that knows how it feels in the body, that knows just the words to say, that knows how to act. They're inside us all along. The compassion and the clarity that we seek is our true nature. And all we have to do is to remember them. Even in the greatest difficulty, you can say, "Excuse me," yourself for a moment, like that story that we heard, the woman who did it wrong and then went back to her car and did it right again. You can say, "Excuse me, let me try this over again." Walk out to the door. Imagine, play it out, that Mother Mary's come into your body, and you walk back in and say, "Let's do this differently." So this is the finding of Buddha nature in the midst of difficulties. The next meditation that I would like us to work with focuses particularly on the qualities of loving compassion and forgiveness that are also central to our Buddha nature. They are the birthright of human beings, this capacity to hold life in compassion, to allow forgiveness, is a natural act. And so the work of the meditation is really a reminding of our own hearts of this natural compassion and the possibility of living a path with heart. Because if we look at the end of our life, what matters most importantly and most deeply is not what we have done and what we have built or written or accomplished. But in the end, perhaps the simplest questions are, have I loved well? The people around me, my own life, the earth and community around. And in order to love, to do the practice of loving kindness, as we've spoken of in these 10 perfections, as a reminder, one often begins with the practice of forgiveness meditation. If we could read the secret history of our enemies, says Longfellow, we should find in each person's life sorrow and suffering enough to disarm all hostilities. Even the places of our enemies, of our greatest conflict, if we could know their suffering and their sorrows, what made them become the way they are today, our hearts would somehow be touched and open to them too. For in one's Buddha nature, there is this intrinsic forgiveness. Forgiveness does not mean condoning things that are harmful. In forgiving, we let go of the past, but we may say, never again will I let this happen to anyone else. I will put my body in the way of allowing such harm to happen to another. The essence of forgiveness is not to put others out of our heart. It can't be done as a papering over. There may be a long period of grief or rage or sorrow or anger. But in the end, if we are to live a wise and beautiful life, forgiveness is what allows us to do so. So with the eyes closed, gently breathing in and out, feel your breath as if you could breathe in and out of the heart itself. Breath gently in the area of the heart. And breathing gently, let's begin the forgiveness practice in 3 directions. First, there are many ways in which I have hurt or harmed others, knowingly or unknowingly. I remember these now and feel the sorrows I carry. Let yourself remember the ways you have betrayed others, abandoned them, caused them pain. We've all done it. And feel the sorrows you've carried. There are many ways I have hurt or harmed others in thought or word or deed, out of my own pain and confusion and fear. I remember these now, and I ask their forgiveness. May I be forgiven. It's an asking of mercy. May I be forgiven. And feeling whatever forgiveness might come from asking in that way, then the second direction of forgiveness, which is toward ourself. You can feel how much we need it as well. There are so many ways that I have caused suffering to myself as I've caused harm to others, in thought or word or deed. I remember these now. Feel the sorrows that you carry from betraying yourself as you've betrayed others. The way you've abandoned yourself, harmed or hurt yourself. And in these many ways, I feel these sorrows. Begin to offer yourself forgiveness. I forgive myself. I offer myself mercy, kindness, finally, just as I ask forgiveness of others. All that I did out of my own fear and pain and confusion and anger, may I forgive myself. I forgive myself. And then the third direction, as we can ask forgiveness of others and offer a kindness to ourselves. There are many ways that others have hurt or harmed us. Each of us has been betrayed, abandoned, hurt by others, abused. It's so in every life. I remember these now too, and feel the sorrows I carry from them. Feel it in the body, in your being. In the ways that others have hurt or harmed me, out of their pain and anger, out of their fear and confusion. And remembering these now, to the extent that I am ready, I turn my heart in the direction of forgiveness. I begin the process of offering forgiveness. I release you. I forgive you. I offer you too mercy and kindness. To the extent that I am ready. And having then cleansed the heart and prepared the heart by the forgiveness practice, feel the breath again gently coming in and out of the heart. We've now completed the preparation for loving compassion meditation. So as you feel each breath, traditionally one begins with phrases of intention, offering the intention of well-being first to ourselves and then to others. Because if we cannot love things in ourselves, we never accept them in other beings. So breathing gently, the traditional phrases include such words as, "May I be filled with loving kindness." And feel that phrase coming with the breath. This whole body and heart and mind filled with loving kindness toward myself. Or may I be peaceful and at ease. May I have well-being of body, well-being of heart, well-being of mind. May I be happy, a wishing for our own happiness. Breathing gently in the heart. Find your own phrases. May I be well. Be filled with loving kindness. And let the sense of loving kindness, loving compassion grow in you. May this one who sits here, this being given this life, be held in great loving kindness. May it fill the whole of this body, every organ and cell, every limb, be touched by loving compassion. Breathing gently. Feel a compassion as well for the measure of sorrows you've been given in this life. Be aware of your own sufferings, the measure of pain you've been entrusted with. And feel a real compassion and mercy to hold your sorrows with kindness. The image from the Buddha is of a mother holding her beloved only child. Imagine you could hold yourself on your lap as a child. May I be well, filled with loving kindness. Holding the difficulties with great compassion. And holding your beauty and uniqueness. May I have well-being of body, well-being of heart, well-being of mind. And then let the feelings of loving kindness which grow in you extend out. Let your heart open further. Think of someone whom you love a lot. Picture them. Include them in your heart with the same well-wishing. May they be filled with loving kindness. Be peaceful and happy. May they have well-being of body, of heart, of mind. Be aware of their measure of sorrows, the struggle in their life. Feel the natural compassion of your Buddha nature. May they hold their sorrows in great kindness and compassion. May they be well, happy. And then in your own time, allow the loving kindness meditation to extend further to other members of your family or those you love, to benefactors and those who've seen the beauty in your life, to acquaintances, to the community around you, to the human beings of the world far and near, to neutral people, those who you usually don't notice. Wish them well. And even to those who are difficult, to those who are enemies. May they too be held in great compassion. May they all be touched by the great heart of loving kindness. May they be peaceful. And may all beings on this earth, in every form, wherever they are, young and old, far and near, be held in great compassion and kindness. May they be well. May they be peaceful. May they be free. The loving kindness and compassion practice could go on for a long time, and maybe should in our lives, in a systematic way, one can cultivate it and do a little bit at the beginning of a meditation sitting or at the end. Traditionally, one would be given this meditation by a teacher and say, do forgiveness or loving kindness practice for so many minutes, 20 minutes, 2 or 3 times a day. For the next 6 months, do it 500 times. And then come back and let me know how it's going. So it's not 1 time or 10 times, but it becomes more one's way. And then you can use it in all other circumstances. It becomes a practice that works when you're in traffic jams. Instead of sitting and fuming, you can look at all the other people in the traffic jam and do a loving kindness practice for them. Or waiting in the dentist's office, or waiting in line in the grocery store, or being on the airplane as you're traveling, or on the streetcar or whatever it is, and there you are, everybody's got their own reading material and they're in their own world, and you start to do loving kindness meditation for all these people. Now don't let them see, I don't mean be weird, but that is, don't look weird, but inside you look around and may that old woman be peaceful and happy, and may that young teenager over there be filled with loving kindness, and may that elderly man there be filled with great peace and loving kindness. And pretty soon, just because you recite the intention in the heart, you find yourself friends with everybody in the airplane or on the conveyance with you. And when they leave, you could almost wave goodbye to them. See you next time. It only takes a few minutes. So this is the practice of reawakening our own true loving kindness. And as we do, the heart changes, and the change of the heart changes the world around us. As Ryokan, the Japanese Zen poet, says, "The rain has stopped, the clouds have drifted away, and the weather is clear again. If your heart is pure, then all things in your world are pure, and then the moon and flowers will guide you along the way." So what we're looking for in these perfections is not the perfection of others or the perfection of the world, but the perfection of love and forgiveness and compassion. And that changes everything. The last of these practices, guided meditations, for living that true and beautiful Buddha nature within our lives, for letting it shine as we move through the world, is the practice of equanimity, that innate and natural balance of heart and mind that can allow us to be at peace in the midst of all things. Equanimity meditation is a balance for loving kindness and compassion. Because sometimes if we do a great deal of forgiveness, loving kindness, and compassion meditation, we can slip from loving kindness into a grasping at the well-being of others. And our concern can in some way move into an attachment rather than just a simple and open-hearted love. We want something. Equanimity functions as a balance because through it we see that in this vast universe of living beings, we don't have much control over what happens. They live their lives, and we live our lives according to certain conditions. Our life unfolds according to the causes that create each next day. And when we see this, we see that we're a small part of a great dance, and though we may cultivate a boundless compassion for others and struggle to alleviate suffering and injustice, there will be plenty of things in the world that we cannot change. It's like the serenity prayer that we know so commonly. May I have the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Wisdom recognizes that all beings are the heirs, are the recipients of their own karma. That they each act and receive the fruits of their actions. and we can love them and offer them as much assistance. In the end, they must learn for themselves. They must let go for themselves. No one can let go for another person. No one can forgive for another person. And no one can awaken for another person. They have to do that themselves. So in equanimity, it combines an understanding mind together with a compassionate heart. Thomas Merton reminds us in another way of the attitude that's helpful in undertaking the practice of equanimity. He says, to allow oneself to be carried away by a multitude of conflicting concerns, to surrender to too many demands, to commit oneself to too many projects, to want to help everyone and everything, is itself to succumb to the violence of our times. So the idea isn't to run around and fix everything in the world. Anyone succeeded in that? But to be the Buddha in the midst of it, and through that to affect the world. Or Mary Oliver, who writes in Blackwater, her poem, Blackwater Creek, to live in this world, you must be able to do three things. To love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your life depends upon it. And when the time comes to let it go, to let it go. So for equanimity practice, let yourself sit in a comfortable posture with your eyes closed. Bring a soft attention to your breath and body until you find a quieting of the breath and the body and the mind. And then begin by reflecting on the benefits of a mind that is peaceful, that has balance and equanimity. Sense what a gift it is to bring a peaceful heart to this world. And let yourself feel an inner sense of balance and ease. And then, in the same way that the heart's intention in loving kindness is given voice through simple phrases, you can begin to repeat such simple phrases as, "May I be balanced and at peace. May I be peaceful. May my heart be at rest and balanced in the midst of all things." You can acknowledge that all created things arise and pass away, joys and sorrows, pleasant events, people, buildings, animals, nations, whole civilizations. Let yourself rest at peace in the midst of the changing world. May I learn to see the arising and passing of all nature with equanimity and balance. May I be open, balanced, and peaceful. And feeling this peace, acknowledge as well that all beings are heirs to their own karma. Their lives arise and pass according to their deeds and the conditions created by them. May I bring compassion and equanimity to the events of the world. May I find balance and peace. The happiness and suffering of others depends on their actions and not my wishes for them. I can hold them in a compassionate heart and act as best I can. But their happiness and suffering depends on their actions and deeds. May I rest in equanimity and the great natural balance of heart. May I be peaceful. All of these teachings and meditations are again a simple reminder of who we really are. They're returning to our own true nature, to the beauty of our hearts that shines the moment we let go of our concerns and fears and open with awareness and presence, compassion. It is like Wilson Van Dusen, who wrote, "I'm a lifelong mystic, a natural one, and the experience of a mystic is not rare or difficult to obtain. It is our understanding that needs improvements. For I've known the direct experience of God countless times, in a sunrise, in music, in children's laughter. What is it like to be a mystic in this world? In part, it is sad. Mystics go through long periods in which they have experiences of the divine but remain uncertain. Once, after I gave a talk in a church, an old woman waited until the crowd of people who came up to me cleared. I saw she was not much longer to live in this world. Acting very circumspectly, she recited a short dream in which an amazing golden sun came to her and asked me if it was God. I first thought of my standard reply, as a Jungian who was well trained. Well, we need to get into the dream and understand what it means for you. But then I was struck by the total emotional impact of the situation. This old woman is dying, and it matters very much to her if she met God even once in this life. And I said, yes, it was God, and we both broke into tears. But how sad. She had the marks of a very spiritual person whose life was embedded in the divine, and yet she asked desperately if she had once met him. To me, she represents most of humankind. She is already well on her way, but does not recognize the signs. So take these meditations as nourishment, as ambrosia for the heart, as that which reawakens you to what has always been true, and then carry them out into the world so that, as the Zen poet Basho says, the temple bell stops, but the sounds keep coming out of the flowers.
This concludes Your Buddha Nature with Jack Kornfield. For more information on retreats taught by Jack Kornfield, please contact the Spirit Rock Center P.O. Box 909, Woodacre, California 94973, or call the Spirit Rock Center 415-488-0164. The music on this program is by Nawang Ketchog from the album Quiet Mind, available through the Sounds True catalog. For a free Sounds True catalog, please call 800-333-9185 or write the Sounds True catalog, P.O. Box 8010, Boulder, Colorado 80306. Thank you for listening.